Thanks for joining us again here at Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover. We're back with our Week 3 review of the NFL action. It's flying by. I don't like how quick it's going by, Byron.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Really is flying by. Hitting the quarter pole next week, basically. So, yeah, if you've not won a game yet, then you're probably in big trouble.
Yeah, wishing away the off season and summer to get to this point. We're nearly at the end of September now. It's crazy. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking through 4 of the key games from the weekend. We'll be going over our FourFold Challenge, our ATS Picks competition. I'm doing terribly across the board. We'll review our bets as well. Also not great from me. Before reviewing our Fantasy Gameday lineup. The Fantasy Gameday winning lineup, because we won't review ours because it was terrible. And then we'll have a quick sneak peek ahead at Thursday Night Football, which is suddenly all of a sudden turned into a massive one for the Dallas Cowboys. Just before we get into it, reminder, give us a follow. Good Teams and Great Teams Cover over on Spotify. You'll be notified whenever a new episode drops, which is twice a week. Follow us on YouTube if you want to see our faces while we're talking. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, to keep across all of the posts, all of the content, the Charlie picks, the bets as they go up at GTW_GTC. First of all, Byron, how did you enjoy week? Week 3's not finished yet because we're recording on Monday, but how would you enjoy the majority of week 3?
I enjoy watching all football, really, but it was a wild week. Honestly, I think the quality of the football has been pretty poor this year, or certainly offensively, and I don't think it's been great defensive scheme. And I think we're really seeing a struggle of a lack of preseason. I think teams aren't getting up to speed quickly enough. The injuries have been brutal, though. So, I don't want to pin that just on the preseason, because I think that may be just a coincidence, or just an odd thing that happens. Fantasy relevant players get injured, and it impacts the product. Obviously, you had a lot of players missing, then you're going to see worse games for it. But the scoring's way down this year compared to previous years. And this week was another low in scoring compared to weeks 1 and 2 as well. Passing games just don't seem to be getting going for the most part. The rookie quarterbacks, Caleb Williams had a good game numerically this week, but he's going against a really bad Colts defense, and he didn't look like a good quarterback. He made some nice plays and he got some decent volume, but it wasn't like a game where you go, he's figured it out. He's going to be good now. Like I say, I still love watching any and all football, but I think this week felt like a bit of a slog. We don't want to sound like Nelly negative on it.
The early slate in particular had a dearth of quality. And I don't know if that's just kind of the way the schedule lined up with the teams and the games. There was a couple of maybe games, I guess we'll talk about them, but a couple of games where kind of particularly had the high points lines that massively under-delivered, and we thought we were going to get maybe a couple of bangers in terms of games. But let's lead in with Caleb Williams, because that's the first game we're going to talk about. The Chicago Bears end up losing 21-16 on the road in Indianapolis. Both teams now 1 and 2 on the year. Numbers wise, you had Caleb Williams as passing yards leader, and sadly Prescott beat him out late on.
Literally that last event in seemingly, at the end of the day, meaningless touchdown for Dallas. But Dallas were playing to win the game, so I don't say it meaningless. It wasn't garbage time. It put them within a score. But that touchdown literally cost the 30-1 shot on Caleb Williams getting the passing leader of the day, which would have been I love that market. It is more of a fun one than anything you can deep dive into. It's very vibes based. But I hit a few of them last year. Haven't hit any to start this year. And I thought Caleb was going to get me off the Schneider 30-1, but it's not an each way market. You either hit it or you don't. So
sadly not. But Caleb Williams, they had him throwing the ball 52 times, 363 yards for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I know it's close again. The Bears in a 1-score game. They were last week against the Texans. This week against the Colts. It still just doesn't feel right. Numbers wise was great, but the offense is struggling, and Caleb Williams, for me, just seems to be holding on to the ball way too long and making far too many mistakes.
I think he is. I think when he can see it and hit it is great. And I do think he's looked better week 2 from week 1 and week 3 from week 2. So that's positive, but I am very cognizant of the Colts are not a good defense in any way. And I think Colts games are going to be fantasy gold for most teams all season. And I'm not saying Caleb Williams was fantasy gold. I think he was like quarterback 7, 8-ish this week. So, but relative to what Caleb Williams has been, that is fantasy gold. Yeah, I think that Bears O-line is a huge issue. I think that's a bigger issue than Caleb Williams. And I also think their OC has got a new nickname in Chicagoland this past week, Shane Waldron. People do not want Shane Waldron around. He won't be there next year. He shouldn't make it midway through the season. The offense is awful. There's so little creativity, but the O-line also stinks, which really doesn't help. DeAndre Swift looked like he's running through treacle. Roshan Johnson was in for 8-9 carries for 30-ish yards. There's nothing getting going. The only thing that gets going is Caleb Deepish. Ramadan had a big game this week. I think he got about 110, 111 yards. Got his touchdown finally. Cole Kmet got going a bit more after Gerald Everett kind of been out snapping him the first 2 weeks, which I think is a positive because Cole Kmet isn't, Trey McBride or Sam Laporta or Brock Bowers by any means, but Gerald Everett is, a jag. He's not a guy who should be making a difference on an NFL roster. He should be taking snaps from younger players. I really don't think. But he's another one who knows Shane Waldron from the Rams and from the Seahawks. So, he gets in there to install the scheme. What that scheme is, I'm kind of perplexed by. I don't know if you remember this in the offseason. It was at the Super Bowl media party week, and JSN was asked about Shane Waldron going to Chicago. Or maybe it was a draft week, in fact, because Super Bowl, he might not have been there. He might have been. But he just kind of went, oh, yeah, he's a good guy. Good luck to Chicago. And it's like, oh, that's not like, oh, we're really going to miss him in Seattle. I did see a good tweet. I know we'll touch on the Seahawks a bit later, but basically, when you look at what Geno Smith did with Shane Waldron as his OC, he deserves the Presidential Medal of Freedom because it wasn't good in Seattle. It isn't good in Chicago. And, I don't want to dominate this with Chicago because also not good. Anthony Richardson, goodness me. 50% completion rate, 160 yards, 170 yards, 2 interceptions. I mean, the one by the goal line, just run the ball in. His decision making is so out of NFL. And Shane Steichen, I think, is a good OC, so a good player caller. Sorry, I know he's the head coach, but I really struggle with what is Anthony Richardson in 2024. You were really low on him coming into the draft and being drafted at number 4. I wasn't high on it, I must say. As a fantasy, I play a lot of fantasy, so it's like, well, he's going to be exciting. He's going to get his yards through the ground, so that kind of thing. They call it the Konami code for fantasy running quarterbacks who run. Tim Tebow was a great fantasy quarterback. He couldn't play quarterback. So on that sense, you're like, well, he's going to be good. But Anthony Richardson, even yesterday, got 24 yards on 8 attempts. He's not going when he should. His decision making looks way, way, way off. I don't know. You've got to keep playing him. Well, you've got to keep playing him.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that they'll stick with him. It's just that like I say, that decision making is terrible, and it's just all big plays, isn't it? If of his 10 completions for 167 yards, 1 for 44 for Alec Pierce, 1 for 40 for Kylan Granson. They're just chunk plays, and
you can't build an NFL offense out of that.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it is. I'm like I said, I've mentioned it first, but I'm really worried for the Colts. I kind of managed to get sold on them a little bit, kind of when we were doing our previews. I had them at 4 wins to begin with, and then I was like, I bumped them to 7. Yeah. I might have been right in the first place before. They're real bad. Their defense is terrible as well. The Bears didn't really get to take advantage of it on the ground because they are also awful, and that whole line's comical. Combination of, you mentioned kind of the criticisms of Shane Waldron, but the 4th and 1 speed option play from the 1-yard line where 4 of the 5 offensive linemen were on the floor in the end, were on the deck in the end zone, and poor DeAndre Swift ended up.
When I seen the still image of that, I honestly thought it was Photoshop when I seen the still image.
It was unbelievable.
Because I've seen the play itself, but I didn't notice it being that. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. And someone on Twitter described it as it looks like when the Power Rangers have come in and defeated the baddies, they're just all played on the ground. And I was like, that's really good imagery. I don't know who said it, sorry to them, but I don't know what you would even call it. It's like men versus boys, but like even that feels a little insulting. It just to the men versus boys argument. I'm saying like it just that can't be an NFL offensive line. It looks like they're playing on ice. Yeah, I don't. We all largely said Caleb Williams is coming into the best situation their number one picks had in history. DJ Moore had one catch for -6 yards yesterday. Oh no, sorry, it's a rushing attempt. Yeah. DJ Moore had one rush attempt for -6 yards, which stood out. Sorry, I thought it was a catch when I glanced at my screen there. Yeah, they just can't get anything going. Like they can't sustain drives. It's not quite Anthony Richardson levels of it's all it's all big or nothing, but it's getting that way, and I don't see how that's going to really drastically improve in season. And kind of the only hope is that you don't give Caleb Williams enough seeing ghosts and, ruin him before he gets going by making him David Carr, by making him Sam Darnold, by making him Sam Howell. These quarterbacks who just end up getting battered in their first years, they never really recover. I mean, Sam Darnold eventually has, I guess, but
we'll get to him later. But I think it's fair enough concern. And Chicago really do need to do something quick. They got a couple of easy games on schedule. This really should have been an easier game. I have them a 1-point underdogs. I know you took them on the FourFold, but I really fancied them here. I thought they kind of put it together. And just because the Colts were that bad, I thought you got the opportunity to run all over them and let Caleb kind of have a bit of an easier ride. But they're worse at running the ball than the Colts are at defending the run, which is really fucking bad. So, yeah. It's a rough ride for Caleb so far, and I think I just don't see it changing. Schedule does lighten up a bit, but they're just. I
mean, if you can't beat this Colts defense, though, I mean, how light can a schedule get? I mean, they've got the Rams, the Panthers, Jags, which it's not, and Commanders. It's not scary, but if you're not getting anything done against this Colts front without DeForest Buckner. I might fancy, the whatever we're calling this Rams team to hold their own against them.
Patch the Rams, but the interception. One interception is unlucky with, but he was still late with the ball. Like it hit Rome Odunze, didn't it, and popped up. But he was still late on that throw. Yeah. And the pick six is terrible. Again, you've just got to throw the ball away at that point.
I think that's the biggest thing where he's struggling is like if the play's not there, it's not there. It's fine. Yeah. Like. It's that old cliche of like, when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. Yeah. Well, make sure you're not making it the worst possible outcome every time.
He's just you just can't get out of this college mentality. If he can make something happen, he can make something happen because he's more athletic than everybody and his players are better than everybody. He just can't get out of it. Bears dropped to 1-2. Colts get their first win of the season. 21-16. Our second game. And people say we shouldn't talk about this game, but our front cover man, Andy Dalton, led the Carolina Panthers to a hammering of the Raiders. This is kind of, I think, the biggest disappointments for me. The Raiders coming off a huge win comeback win against the Ravens and just didn't turn up at home against Carolina. Putting that to one side, the Dalton was fantastic. Who'd have thought? Week 3 and the first quarterback to get over 300 yards and 3 touchdown passes would be the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. Just real veteran, solid performance from Andy Dalton.
Really solid. And also, the touchdown throw to Adam Thielen was as good as you're going to see in the NFL. Like, that was just a nails throw, great catch by Thielen. Another guy who I've wrote off a billion times. And Adam Thielen's not going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, but I'm always pleased to see these old players like still pull one last one out of the bag. Essentially, that was just a beautiful throw, beautiful catch, and good for them. I think a damning one for the Raiders. I think to a degree though, because we came into the season of we don't know what we're going to get from the Raiders on offense, especially, but the defense should be good. And Andy Dalton had a good game, but with the personnel they have on defense, I don't think you should be giving up 36 points to Carolina Panthers. Ultimately, especially in your home stadium. I know it wasn't a perfect offensive performance. AOC ended up coming in. Minshew was very mixed as he's been. That run game isn't getting going. Zamir White, I don't know if you got him in fantasy. I hope not. But like he looked like a trap. And like he can't catch the ball. And I think I'm always nervous about these players who come in and have like a good few games to end the season with fresh legs and, hoping that continues next year. And he's just another one who's just, it's not going to happen. Like, he's so limited as a rusher. If he can get a straight line and hit it, then like 100 running backs in the NFL, he'll hit it. But he's got nothing that makes him stand out. I do think good news for, like, obviously everybody in Carolina that isn't called Bryce, like Chuba Hubbard, look like the best of Chuba Hubbard we've seen. Yeah. And he had some good games last year with Bryce Young, but it's staggering just the night and day of like that whole line. Deontay Johnson had I think he might have set a career high in receiving yards. If not, it's certainly his highest since Big Ben was his quarterback in 2019. Just I don't know what you do with Bryce Young from here, because if I'm Carolina, like, I don't know how you play him again.
The only way is if Dalton gets hurt, right? I think if Dalton gets hurt, you kind of have to put him back in. I think if you then went to the practice squad quarterback from that point, or third QB.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the only way is Andy Dalton gets hurt. And Andy Dalton's 36, so that's entirely possible.
And again, I don't want to be critical on our cover boy's big day, but he's Andy Dalton as well. Like, he will be a pumpkin again soon. Like, this doesn't last forever. That's why he's backing up on the Panthers and not starting for anybody. Plenty of teams could have traded for him, I'm pretty sure, in the offseason. I don't think the Panthers were asking for a first-round pick, like, to get a good backup in the building. It's Andy Dalton. He will have big games. He'll have bad games. Like, the Panthers aren't going to go on a run and make the playoffs now. But
clip this.
To keep your organization, you look at Dave Canales, his first win as a head coach. You got the game ball. It was great scenes in the locker room last night. I really don't envy the coaching staff there trying to make a decision. And, like, obviously you say, like, yeah, if Dalton gets injured, they'll have to go back to Bryce Young. But, like, I guess, like, presuming Dalton doesn't get injured, like, when would you go back to Bryce Young? Do you just not do it this season? Like, do you wait until you're out of playoff contention and just say, hey, guys, we're focusing on next year. We need to see what Bryce can do to make a decision.
Yeah.
If you haven't already made that decision. A couple of Dalton-ish Bryce Young fun facts from Scott Barrett, who works at Fantasy Points. In the last 65 games for Carolina Panthers, most yards in a game, Andy Dalton in 2023 week 3 is number 1 with 361. Andy Dalton, week 3, 2024, yesterday, 319 yards is number 3. Number 2 is Sam Darnold in week 17, 2022. Bryce Young never made that leap there. And again, Scott Barrett, worst career yards per attempt since the Vietnamese War, with a minimum of 550 pass attempts. You've got number 6, Ryan Leaf. Number 4, Brady Quinn. Number 3, Chris Weinke. Number 2, I've never heard of, Danny Cannell, 5.37 yards per attempt. Number 1, worst since the Vietnamese War, Bryce Young, 5.36 yards per attempt. And, doing some like film work on Bryce Young in this last week, seeing, was it really that bad? The guy's jumping to make passes like that are like, they're not trick plays, they're not jump passes at the line. Like, I was a bit, I didn't like the thing of like, he's too short, so he won't make it in the NFL, like when he's coming out, because it's like, to me, like, height shouldn't be, like, I don't mean like ethically, but like, if players haven't failed at his height, then I don't think you can write him off just based on his height. If every 5'10" quarterback who's taken in the first round had failed, then fair enough, like, yeah, it's an issue. But there wasn't any. So it's like, well, if he's that good that teams want to take him first overall, then maybe 5'10's not a problem. They know more than I do. Well, and it looks like it might just be disqualifying. Like, if he can't see over his line ever, then you really need to scheme up an offense that no one's done.
Yeah.
If someone's willing to do it, sure. But who's going to do that for Bryce Young now after 2 years of bad tape?
I think it's just the worst thing that could have happened for him. The fact that Dalton's come in and just looked competent, and he was very good yesterday, Andy Dalton. Let's not not to discredit it at all. And I think he just gave the Panthers a boost of we've got a chance. We can win games. We can win games with Andy Dalton. He gives us a chance to win, and all of a sudden everybody's lifted that little bit. So yeah, I mean, I've already got on they're playing the Bengals in an Andy Dalton revenge game next week.
And that is a revenge game. That's a good one.
And I'm already on the Bengals. I jumped on the Bengals -5.5 as soon as I saw the line. I was like, that line's too low.
That is too low. Yeah, that's a good shot.
The line's too low, and Panthers might come back down to earth after this win. But given let's have
have the day.
Have the day. First time they led in the fourth quarter since 2022. Yeah. 2 wins last year came in on walk-off field goals. Didn't hold the lead in the fourth quarter in 2023. So, yeah, congrats to the Panthers. Well done. And, yeah, Raiders I'm worried about. Again, just mentioned the Colts, just like Antonio Pierce's post-game press conference was very interesting. The quote, some of the players out there made business decisions and will go about making business decisions as well. So, I might expect the Raiders to make some moves this week.
Yeah, I would expect so. Because if not, then it's hot air, and teams will know, or the players will know they can take the piss. And
I don't think Antonio Pierce is the hot air guy.
I don't either. So I think we will see moves. But, you do have to back up your words. And I think Antonio Pierce will, but I think if he doesn't, then they might have a real big issue this season. I don't know if you've seen halftime as the game was going to halftime. Devontae Adams looked kind of shell-shocked, just sat on the bench as the rest of the players were kind of walking in. Obviously, there was 21-7 down at that point. Devontae Adams I don't know if you watched all of the receivers show. I didn't. I only seen highlights of it. But he was pretty vocal about when things weren't up to his standard, I guess is probably a good way to put it. Specifically, Jimmy Garoppolo. It's hard to see Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell being up to his standard. I'm not saying Devontae Adams is one of them people making business decisions. I don't think that's who he's referring to. But it might be a way to recoup some draft capital on what might be a lost season for the Raiders. So if I was him, I'd probably be calling New York and seeing if Aaron Rodgers would like his mate back.
Yeah, I'd suspect there'd be quite a few people in for Devontae Adams, to be fair. I think, especially we've got teams that have got injuries, the wide receiver position, if they're willing to kind of go make that move. I mean, depending kind of where Philly are, that could be an option. You've got Devonta Smith potentially injured now as well as AJ Brown, and I know they made the move for Dotson, but just how desperate are they? And some other teams could go make a move for Adams. So yeah, one to watch as we kind of get to the deadline. But I like the odds on a Devontae Adams trade for sure. But yeah, congrats to Panthers there at 1-2, and so the Raiders now heading into week 4. Our third game we're going to talk about, San Francisco 49ers dropped to 1-2, losing 24-27. I still don't really understand how they lost this game from the position that they were in. Sadly, we've not got Joe with us to kind of give a Niners perspective. But yeah, the Rams won 24-27 on a late field goal. And the Rams were dead in this game. They were absolutely dead.
For the entire game, the 49ers on the ESPN win percentage were well above 70-75%. With 1 minute 12, there was 68% to win the game. And then I'm going to get his name wrong. Xavier Smith, I believe his name is. His first ever touch in NFL football, UDFA. Returned a punt 35 yards, which he probably could have fair caught, but okay, I guess. He didn't fancy catching it, so he just returned it. Xavier Smith, 38 yards, found his name. Then one play later, Josh Carter's kicking a winning field goal. I think this was an incredible coaching job by Sean McVay to grind out this win. Kyron Williams went in for just 3 touchdowns. I was going to say, I can't see the third one on the screen here, but it was 3 touchdowns. I just think, I don't know exactly what Sean McVay pulled out of his bag all week in training, but he's one of them coaches who I always struggle to write off, or like in any given week. And I think I picked the Rams to cover this. I didn't really think they'd win the game. I just thought it'd be a low scoring with the amount of injuries and issues the Niners had as well. Speaking of which, and I'm sure he's going to pop up in our Fantasy Gameday segment, Juwan Jennings, 175 yards, 11 catches, 3 touchdowns. Is Brandon Ayuk the most overpaid wide receiver free in football?
Possibly at this point, but yes, we will mention Juwan Jennings because Fantasy Gameday winner did start Juwan Jennings.
I would think so.
it was Juwan Jennings versus Kyron Williams, basically, wasn't it? This game, but yeah, the Niners in control. They were 10 points, 10 points up as we were at the start of the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. It just looked really comfortable, and then they just didn't kill the game. The Rams had that long drive to get it back to 2-7. Moody with a missed field goal, and then that's when the chaos. The chaos happened. The Tutu Atwell deep ball took it right, knocking on the door of the end zone before Kyron Williams scored again, and then I kind of still felt at that point that the Niners had it in control and were going to go down and score the field goal, but
and I do think I really hope there's not this narrative because it's so lazy and cheap. Brock Purdy doesn't win with his superstars missing. Brock Purdy was fucking good yesterday.
Yeah, he did. He played very well yesterday.
I love just him finding room to scramble for things as well, which isn't a big part of it. Doesn't need to be a part of his game plan. But you see that a lot of these talking heads are Brock Purdy always has these big players, so of course he wins games. It's Brock Purdy deserved to win that game as much as Matthew Stafford did yesterday. They both played so well, considering what they have around them. I was so impressed by both quarterbacks. And again, some of that is coaching. Obviously, they both have excellent offensive coaches. But I just thought it was a kind of a short game for both quarterbacks. Unfortunately, one of them had to lose. And kind of for the banter, it's best it's the 49ers.
Yeah. Trent Williams obviously came out as well, got banged up. That just seems to be adding to the list for the Niners. I
haven't seen anything on his status. I presume he's fine, but if he's not, it's panic stations. But I presume he's fine. Just I haven't seen anything to indicate otherwise.
Yeah. The Niners. No game's an easy game for them at the minute. They do have the Patriots at home next week, and then the Cardinals at home before the Seahawks. So they've got kind of hopefully a couple of games they can kind of get by for them. That
Cardinals game will be a fire game, though.
Yeah, that's the
because there'll be no CMC. Kittle might be back. Debo probably back, but the Cardinals are no fools right now either. Seattle are 2 games clear of everybody in that division, which I was high on Seattle coming into the season, but I didn't think they'd be, 3-0 and everyone else 1-2 in the division after 3 weeks. That seems, that's favorable scheduling is what that is, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's what but it looks very weird.
It does. Just again, the Niners again. I just felt this one, whereas kind of last week, just kind of the Vikings had all the plays to beat them.
Yeah.
I know the Niners, they were in control of this one and let it slip, and I know that's just a bit of vulnerability in the Niners, which is interesting. But both 1-2, Rams and Niners. Last game that we're going to focus on is Sunday Night Football. This is going to be all you, Byron, because I had a very busy day at work and couldn't watch football.
The nerve.
Chiefs 3-0, not playing well, but 3-0, 22-17 winners over the Falcons in Atlanta. And this is another one that felt like the Falcons could have pinched this.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was in play till late on. I felt that the Chiefs could have put it away a bit earlier and just got held up on certain players. The running game wasn't great, as you might expect from Kansas City. Carson Steele, I think, had a long of 9, had 17 attempts for 72 yards, which, 72 yards you think is all right, but nearly 20 attempts to get there. Not great. Not terrible, obviously, but yeah, P. Ryan didn't really get going. Worthy had a couple of end-around type rush attempts, but those all got shut down pretty quickly. Just while I mentioned Carson Steele as well, you didn't see the game you mentioned there, but it was his sister's wedding yesterday, so he had nobody to watch Crocky Jr. Is that his crocodile's name? I forget what it's actually called if it's not Crocky Jr., but it's something like that. It was her wedding yesterday, and he couldn't attend, but nobody expected him to be an NFL player when they booked the wedding. So it's pretty wild that, they had a huge screen up at the wedding where everyone watching Sunday Night Football as he's getting his first carries and stuff. Everyone's gone wild. And it was just, every time I hear about this crocodile, I just can't help but laugh because it's incredible. But But also, like, I just kind of love like that thing of like these undrafted free agents. You know, mentioned Javier Smith there for the Rams, Carson Steele shining in a big role for the Chiefs, and like the impact of like their families didn't expect them to be in the NFL, so they literally booked weddings on Sundays is absolutely incredible. And here they are on Sunday Night Football. Cousins looked better, I think. Again, week one looks like a distant memory. He's not. He's never going to be Anthony Richardson, you know, Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he's Kirk Cousins. But yeah, he went 20-29, 230 yards, touchdown, interception. They got really banged on a DPI call that didn't come for Kyle Pitts in the end zone. That if he's not interfered with, it's touchdown catch. There's no way you can't not call that as DPI. I hate all the stuff about like, oh, they get all the calls, but that was an egregious one that just wasn't given. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but when you see it out, yeah, it's a touchdown, or it's a DPI. It's just simple as that. Drake London had a good game. 6 catches out of 9 targets, 67 yards, another touchdown. But more importantly, he was just like, when Kirk Cousins needed to play, it was Drake London that he went to. Pitts had a big one downfield where he got on one-on-one coverage and almost had the touchdown. I think that would have been about a 40-yard touchdown, to be fair, maybe 35. He just was a yard short in the end. I think it was that's where Bijan got his touchdown from. The running game for Atlanta didn't quite get going. Bijan again got the bulk of the work, 16 carries, but only 31 yards. He makes things happen on these plays, but it just feels like he's getting hit in the back so often that, like, you know, you make a guy miss and it looks like a good play and you get 2 yards because, you know, you get the ball 3 yards deep. And in reality, you've gained 5, but obviously it's not from the line of scrimmage. I think, you know, we kind of joked about, because we had the wrong spread on the sheet, if you remember, 5.5. And I was saying, well, I'd happily take the 5.5. Well, it's a good job it wasn't 5.5 and it was 5 because I'd certainly been a loser this week. It just felt like the Chiefs just let the Falcons hang around a wee bit. Rashee Rice got his again, obviously, at 12 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown. He's now the receiving leader in the NFL in receptions. I'm only cognizant of that because I keep checking to see where Malik Neighbors is. He's second, just because he's my favorite long shot bet of the season. Juju got a touchdown, which after all Juju's been through in, you know, leaving Kansas City, being like an absolute bum in New England, I'm really pleased to see him get something going. Just because I loved him in his first few years in Pittsburgh. He seemed like a good guy. And knee injuries kind of wrecked his career. So it's good to see him bouncing back a little bit. Mahomes is still not... It feels weird, again, just like touch on the fantasy football of it all. Like, Mahomes is, again, like a top 10 quarterback. And I think, you know, if you're drafting Patrick Mahomes in fantasy, I think you're kind of doing it to get a safe floor now rather than to get a high ceiling. My bet was him to have 4 touchdowns in this game, which he didn't get, clearly. Got 2 touchdowns. Could have had a third, but, you know, didn't end up getting it. And it feels like them big games are over because the defense is too good.
Yeah.
They don't need to get 40 points a game, so they don't. Which is great for, you know, their dynasty. It's great for their real life credentials. But yeah, as a fantasy player, I'm not sure Mahomes has really got that ceiling right now until the Chiefs drop off. So might be something to keep an eye on going into next season because obviously we've all drafted this season. But
it was interesting just his comments afterwards, just sort of saying kind of he knows he's not particularly playing well, and yet we're 3-0 and there's a lot more he feels they can get out of that offense. Xavier Worthy relatively quiet again.
Yeah.
And but Rashee Rice is the offense. Kelsey, this might be it for Travis Kelsey? Is this he's down, he's just dropped off and is just kind of with everybody else now?
I think so, yeah. Rashee Rice has been a godsend to that team, really, because they don't win the Super Bowl without him. And it sounds kind of wild. If they don't have Rashee Rice in there, they're probably one of the worst offenses to watch in the league. And they have Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, they don't really have much else that gets going. And yeah, Kelsey looked bad yesterday. He got 4 for 30, but he didn't look good doing it. He had one big drop as well. I think it was on 3rd down. It would make sense for it to be. And yeah, I'm sure he'll have big games, you know, because it's tight ends and that's what they do. He'll get 2 touchdowns in a game and he'll be like, oh, it's Kelsey back. I kind of hope this is his last year. You know, if he goes out on a 3-peat, and he does some good stuff in the playoffs, maybe but it doesn't look like they're saving him. He's out there plenty. He's getting targeted. He just doesn't seem to be moving as well as he should be, or was, I guess. He is getting older. I'm saying should be. But yeah, there's another one. I hope you didn't draft him in fantasy football because you're not going to get a return on investment on him. You're not going to be able to trade him to anyone else either because everyone else is watching the same tape we are. There's only name value when he takes you so far. So, yeah, I think I wouldn't be interested in buying low on him, certainly, should I say.
Well, Chiefs roll on. They've got intriguing matchup against the Chargers next week, where they're 7-point favourites. I like the 7 for the Chargers. Falcons have got their first matchup against the Saints. The Falcons are favourites at home again. Unless that flips later in the week, I think I'll be all over the Saints for that. So interesting start for both.
I think that's sorry to just talk over you a second there. I think that's kind of two defensive players though who might shine. I don't know if that's going to be a primetime game or not. Falcons Saints. I don't have that in front of me. But Jesse Bates has been a difference maker. Justin Simmons got an INT yesterday, as he seems to get a lot against Patrick Mahomes.
Always does,
but yeah, Jesse Bates has been a threat in all 3 games so far. That's why the Steelers didn't throw anywhere near him. Obviously had the big play against the Eagles. And then Tyrann Mathieu on the Saints side, once again, another interception. My DPOY shout, my long shot of the season is him at 300 to 1. So yeah, I think that could be a fun safety battle, Jesse Bates and Tyrann Mathieu. See if either of them can shine on. It's always a fun rivalry game, the Saints and Falcons. They really seem to fucking hate each other, which we don't get enough of in the NFL.
No, should be a good one and set the tone for the NFC South. Just a couple of quick, you touched on bets for this one because this is the first TV game we've talked about. I were on, Chiefs -3.5, not -5.5.
Yeah.
Chiefs -3.5, and then the under 46.5 cashed as well. And then, Ruff, you were on the Cinema Holmes and Kelsey. And then, Joe had Worthy anytime, TD, and Kirk 2 or more interceptions. Yeah, rough one on that one for us. But I needed that after a rough, needed those two for a rough Sunday slate. Let's get into our FourFold Challenge then. As part of this week 3 review. Luckily, I don't have to piss about with the screen on this one. But let's start with Joe. Joe is having a awful start to his FourFold Challenge. He's now 2-10, going 1-3 this week. He's going so good on his ATS picks though, but can't pick a game for the FourFold. Chargers, Steelers, let's start there. Steelers now 3-0, 20-10 win over the Chargers. I think this kind of battle came maybe a few weeks too soon for the Chargers, I think, while they're going through that identity change.
And Justin Herbert is severely banged up.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke.
Which really doesn't help. Yeah, Taylor Heineke came in. This wasn't on our sheet, but I hit on Justin Herbert going under 150 passing yards when the injury news started to sound getting worse in the week. But then by the time we were putting our bets up, the line had disappeared. So I didn't want to, I don't want to recommend a bet that isn't available, or I got it at 3-1 and it's now plus 110. That feels ingenious, but it was a nice hit anyway. Just one that wasn't available yesterday. Because I kind of figured that he's probably going to end up coming out of the game and the Steelers defense is legit. Even if he doesn't. Great win for the Steelers. And I think, we're talking about all the, passing yardage being down, points being down. And do you know who loves that? Mike Tomlin. He just wants to roll around in the filth and grind out a win. I absolutely love it. Fields finally got a rushing touchdown. Calvin Austin had a great, kind of not dump off, but a short thing where he just yacked it all the way 50 yards to the end zone. Joel didn't have as fun a day against TJ Watt as he did against Max Crosby. I don't think he did terribly though. It wasn't like the Falcons game where TJ Watt was on the screen every time the Falcons had the ball. But it wasn't as easy going certainly. I think maybe Justin Fields has done enough to keep his earn the job now. Went 25 of 32, 245 yards, touchdown, interception. I don't think you're getting any more from Russell Wilson. So I think Russell Wilson's calf injury is going to linger and linger and linger. I think he's going to be the third quarterback every week until Fields does something to lose the job, and then he'll be magically fit.
Fields has to kind of have the meltdown, I think, at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think it's even a discussion now. They're playing winning football, doing enough, and did more so offensively this week against a kind of a tougher defensive opponent. And yes, put in position to win the game. It was a rough road for the Chargers. Herbert obviously getting injured. They just couldn't really get anything going on the ground against the Steelers as well. It was just that battle and war of attrition. Quentin Johnson with another touchdown, though.
Yeah, really pleased to see.
Lovely start on my fantasy bench after picking him up on waivers this week.
Understandable, though. You can't beat yourself up for that.
Well, I have Tyreek Hill and CD Lamb, who he both outscored. Better days to come for the Chargers for sure. But this is not too much of a blight on their early season record. Still expect them to be real competitive and real good. So 20-10. Steelers. Joe sadly didn't get the Chargers as his underdog. He was also on the under for the Panthers Raiders, which we talked about. That went over. Bucks Broncos. Joe was on the over for this. Maybe we talked about maybe kind of look ahead games. Sort of, I think we're all guilty of it. I was on the Bucks as well. Yeah, they just didn't get going. They didn't start at all. But credit where credit's due to the Broncos. They were fantastic on offense, fantastic on defense. And Bo Nix looked so much better this week. Didn't get his touchdown, but he looked so much better.
Well, didn't get his passing touchdown.
Well, passing touchdown, I should say, yeah.
Yeah, I've been hypercritical on the Broncos, and I enjoy being hypercritical on the Broncos, though. And Bo Nix, which I don't enjoy as much because he's a rookie, and I like to see them succeed, whoever they are. 216 passing yards, nearly 50 rushing yards, rushing touchdown. 85 passer rating and a win. Good for him. I was pleased for him. He looked really good. He was moving really well. He was making good, sharp decisions. The things you expect from a Todd Bowles defense to blitz him and get after him. I don't think he took a sack all game. In fact, I need to actually bring that game up to check. But
no sacks. I think obviously Vita Vea, who came out of the game last week for the Buccaneers, was ruled out, and it's a huge part. And I think this was just the defensive injuries caught up with them a bit because they just couldn't stop the Broncos at all.
No, they couldn't. And it's any given Sunday you had to get. But how did this team beat the Lions last week?
I don't know.
Wild, but great for the Broncos, and really pleased for Bo Nix. He looked good. Yeah,
excellent stuff. Both teams. Broncos 1-2, Tampa 2-1, heading into week 4. Mentioned the Bucs beating the Lions. The Lions came away from the game against the Cardinals 20-13. This one kind of looked like in the first half was going to deliver what we were expecting, kind of a bit of high scoring end-to-end game, and then just completely shut down with only 3 points scored in the second half. Joe had the Lions as his favourite. That cashed to give him one win on his FourFold. A different side to Lions, showing a bit of a different way to win here.
Yeah, Montgomery over 100 yards. I think the play action got going a lot more with Jared Goff, which is what they really should be doing in that line, and the bully ball they can play. Amon-Ra, not a quiet game, but he's getting back to his best, I think, 7 for 75 and a touchdown. And a great nugget, I'm not sure if you've seen this one, Jahmyr Gibbs became only the second player ever in the first since 1984 to do what?
It's somewhat on the hook and lateral, isn't it?
It sure is. He scored a receiving touchdown without a single reception.
Oh, nice.
Incredible. Yeah, it happened once in 1984 before Alan Rice did it. Nice. Hook and ladder again, I
just noticed that it's actually 0 receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown.
Incredible, yeah. I don't know. I love how those things get scaled. And I don't know the player's name, actually. I might look it up before our show on Thursday, or Wednesday, whenever we're recording. The player who has the longest yards per catch in NFL history, it's over 100 yards. And the field's never been bigger. But he had a hook and ladder and got however many yards on it. And he also had one catch for 90 yards. The highest yards per catch in NFL history is over 100 yards, which is insane. But anyway, that's much more trivia than we anticipated, I think. As much as I always love throwing it in. I think it's a really important bounce back game for Detroit, though, after last week, because I don't think it takes much for historically bad teams, when they start being good, to suddenly like the world is dark again, and the world's caving in on us again. So I think it was important to get back to winning ways really quickly. Jameson Williams was kind of silent, which fantasy heads are going to be a bit annoyed by because everyone's getting so excited about him. But I think for what Detroit need, I think getting Montgomery going, getting the running game going, get Jahmyr Gibbs going. I mean, he had 83 yards on the ground as well, highlighting Montgomery with 100. Someone to keep an eye on. Sam Laporta came out with a low ankle sprain. As a rule, the lower down, the better. If that starts creeping up to be a high ankle sprain, then that might be don't want to say season destroyer, but really bad for his season. Monroe might be getting back to his, I'm not going to say 20 targets a week, but he's 12, 13, 14, 15 targets a week. Might be coming next week, certainly, or the next couple of weeks if Laporta has to miss any time.
Yeah. Just wondered how dominant the Lions were on the ground. They ran the ball 43 times for 187 yards. I think it's very much back to basics game for the Lions. And it worked. Goff still seems to be struggling, though, I think, as well. And I don't know if they just need to try and play him into some sort of form. He just looks
out of rhythm.
Yeah, and I don't know what they can do to help him and help me, because he's my one of my fantasy quarterbacks. That would be great.
I'd have been happy to draft him as well, so I won't beat you up for that. I have him as MVP.
Yeah,
so, I couldn't be any higher on Jared Goff going into the season, and he doesn't look. Tick off wins while you can in the early part of the season, but you think he should be looking better soon.
Yeah, I don't wonder if that's just the thing where this might take 5 or 6 weeks now. This might be the way the NFL is moving to kind of people to kind of get settled. Speaking of someone who doesn't need that much time to get settled, Malik Willis.
What a coach can do, eh?
Yeah. So just going on to my FourFold before we get to that. So I had the Raiders as my favourite. We've talked about that game. Waiting on the Bengals, Commanders under. I had the over for Panthers, Raiders, and we're talking about Malik Willis because I had the Green Bay Packers as my underdog. I shut out on actually betting the underdog because I was going Packers, Titans. Is Love going to play? And I just settled for the over, which luckily we did. Green Bay wins this 30-14, and Malik Willis looked again another real solid game in relief of Jordan Love. Sometimes you only get in these situations, you kind of get one, and then it kind of comes back down, but. And there's never in doubt this game for Green Bay. Just controlled it from start to finish.
Yeah, and delighted for Malik Willis because I know I mentioned on our preview show his great attitude towards it being a revenge game. He was so mature, wouldn't say a bad word about the Titans. And, he's gone back and really shined. Again, 13 for 19, 200 yards, touchdown, another 70 yards on the ground, another touchdown. Just on my fantasy bench, of course he is. But... in one of my fantasy chats yesterday, somebody I can't believe I started Will Levis. I'm like, yeah, you sound like Brian Callahan. He's like, I should have started Malik Willis. I was like, yeah, you sound like Brian Callahan. On both counts here. I think that rope might be getting a bit short for Will Levis. The Mayo boy might be getting out of there sometime soon. If I'm in a deep league, I might be looking at Mason Rudolph for my last bench spot. If I'm talking Superflex here, he's not going to be a one quarterback starter. But I don't know how much more. Brian Callahan, I've just said his name 5 times, I forgot it. Brian Callahan is going to put up with this because he just cannot keep throwing interceptions. Especially not when they're going back for 6 points.
Yeah, he took 8 sacks as well. There's another great still we've got of Will Levis. So we've had one from each week so far.
Oh, I've not seen this week, so I'll have to seek it out.
Week 1 being on his knees, the whatever he was doing to the fumble week 2, and then one of the sacks where he's just completely ran over and engulfed. I can't remember which one it was because there was that many sacks. I want to say it might have been one of the Preston Smith ones. I don't know. But it was, just brutal. I don't know what you do. Again, because you're 0-3 now. It's nothing good comes from there, I think.
They're the last. They're the only 0-3 team, right? I mean, Jacksonville might join them tonight, but
Jacksonville could join them. They're 0-2.
Everyone else has won a game.
Got a win on the board. Yeah,
that is wild. And Tyler Boyd today or last night, I guess maybe I seen the quote this morning. We have Super Bowl talent in this building. We just need to play like it. I don't know what he's smoking over there, but I'm telling you, Tyler, you're not with the Bengals anymore, buddy, and you do not have Super Bowl talent in that building. Yeah, maybe it might be time for Tyler Boyd to retire if he's taking that many headshots. Because I'm all for being delusional, but geez Louise, man, you're 0-3.
Yeah.
And I think they don't look good.
We said in the preview that the Packers might struggle to run over the Titans like they did against the Colts. They didn't. They went for 188 yards on the ground at 5 yards a clip. And it was easy. It was mixed in with Willis, Jacobs, Wilson. Really, you know, there's a lot of, I think 5 or 6 touched it in the rushing game, but they ran the ball 37 times. And it was never in doubt. It's going to be a real rough season for the Tennessee Titans, I think. Horrible stuff. I'm 2-1 on my FourFold, waiting on this. The Commanders Bengals under. Look like I'm possibly going. You've still got one to go on, you, Byron. So you can. We could end up even if you win and I lose. But I'm getting close. I feel like I'm getting close to these. Your favourite was the Seahawks at home to the Dolphins, and 24-3. I don't think that quite says everything about this game.
But you think it should be more?
Yeah, it should have been. It should have been more. I also felt the Dolphins could have kept it real close, and the 4.5, they might have had a chance to cover it. They got into the red zone a couple of times and just couldn't punch in, and that's because Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle. I
see Tim Boyle back in the league after. I thought that would be the final time we've seen him would be last year. No, Tim Boyle's still here.
In week 3. Like, this is usually like late.
Yeah, week 23. Oh, week 13, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like past week 10. Like, there's nobody else to call. So
I didn't even know he was on the Dolphins roster. I figured he was out of the league. And then I didn't even see who was backing up Skylar Thompson. It must be someone bad if they're backing up Skylar Thompson, And then it's like, oh, Tim Boyle's coming in. It's like, Tim Boyle's coming in. Fucking hell. So I also had the Seahawks as one of my bets of the day as minus 13.5, which came in. Obviously, that was about 3-1. But it is the Seahawks, so I have something to say. Geno Smith is second in the NFL in completion percentage. He's third in the NFL in passing yardage behind this offensive line. Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback. Whatever people want to say. Yesterday, the Seahawks lost turnover battle by 2. They committed 11 penalties. They went 40 minutes without scoring, and they won by 3 touchdowns. And I think my last great fun fact of the day, on the Seahawks at least, anyway, they're the first team to start 3-0 and allow fewer than 150 passing yards. Let's not talk about who they played, doesn't matter. Since the Steel Curtain, the 1979 Steelers, that all-time historic defense, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Joe Green, Greenwood, Mel Blount. Yeah, this is the competition we're talking about. This is their company. I back to Seahawks. I back Seahawks obviously over 7.5. They're 3-0 already. They've had an incredibly easy schedule of it. To be fair, this game shouldn't be.
They've gone and won the games, haven't they?
They've gone and won them.
Yeah, I've gone and won them, and I know kind of couple close. Firstly, this one wasn't. Dolphins are in trouble. Obviously, we're not going to get
huge trouble.
Two back for a few weeks. I think Tyler Huntley surely the likely option moving forward.
Must be. I don't know how. Well, familiarity with the scheme is why Skylar Thompson must have started. I'm not sure what Skylar Thompson's doing on an NFL roster. He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. And he's been in Miami for 3 years now, right? 2 or 3 years.
He looked really hurt as well. There was a chest injury. I don't know if it was like punctured lung or something, but he got really fucked up. So stop putting quarterbacks out there to get killed. Tyler Huntley would give him a chance, I think, as well. I think it was tough because you can't get your playmakers going. The Seahawks bottled up A-Chain as well. He also just didn't get enough touches of the ball. I was on the base. I went Dolphins 4.5 for our ATS. I didn't bet it, but very much like I think Mike McDaniel can do something here because he needs to get the ball to A-Chain 25 times, and they've got a chance of time of possession and then enough explosive plays. And he tried to beat them in the air with Skylar Thompson in the first quarter.
I've been, I think, higher than most on Mike McDaniel. And I think this year's been a bit of a rude awakening so far. I know you lose 2 in that game with the Bills, but as I think I've said about 100 times already, that game was over. Like, Tua played mixed football. The interceptions weren't necessarily on him, but like that offense didn't get going against the Bills, period. And they see the Bills twice a year. You know, it's not like that's a surprising game that came out of nowhere for them. The Jags, they were lucky to beat. Truthfully, if ETN just falls into the end zone or falls a yard short of the end zone, the Jags win that game. Yeah, I'm getting kind of like lost season vibes from the Dolphins. Again, I don't think Tyreek Hill's getting traded or anything like that, but like, it just, it's one of them where just like the vibes feel so off. And again, I don't know what his game plan was yesterday. He had 10 days to prepare for it. Everyone knew Tua was out. He didn't get Tyler Huntley up to speed, obviously, because he wasn't active. Yeah, I don't know what the plan was for the Dolphins coming into this game. They were worse than I expected, and I took this as my favorite pick of the week. I talked about how, in the preseason, I said the 7.5 line for the Seahawks was disrespectful. I felt the same for this game, if you remember me saying.
4.5.
Essentially, like 4.5 points for this is outrageous, hence why I bet on it 13.5 as well, because I just felt the Seahawks were going to stomp them, and they did. But yeah, I'm concerned about Mike McDaniel. I've been really high on him since he entered the league. I think he was one of the sharpest play callers since he's joined the league, and they just look a bit out at sea right now. And I know you lose your quarterback, that matters, but things weren't great in the first 2 weeks either. So certainly until Tua gets back, I benched Tyreek Hill in one fantasy league this week. I just had so little faith in him and them getting going. I benched Jalen Waddle. I have a lot of Jalen Waddle because I think he's incredible. As I do Tyreek, and I didn't start either of them anywhere because I don't think that offense is going to go without Tua. Yeah. So
there's just no point. You can't play a different way. They're built for speed and they need Tua to do that, and they just don't. They just can't. It'd be interesting if they can do something with Tyler Huntley, but yeah, they're going to. If Tua misses minimum 4 games, this is one of them. They need to find a win. Yep. They need to find a win across one of these next 3 games, and then they can still be alive. I think my worry is that Tua's not going to be back in 4 weeks, and he needs longer. And then you need to find 2 or 3 wins, which I just can't see them doing.
100% agree. And Miami aren't a team that I think get better through the season.
No, hell no.
This is Miami's time. This is where they should be getting to 6-0 or 6-1.
Yeah,
and then for them to hit January stone cold and fail, like they're going to hit December stone cold and fail and end up with a number 5 pick. Yeah.
See where they go, and the Mike and obviously Mike McDonald wins the Mike McDerby.
Yeah, coach of the year. Come on,
coach of the year. Come on. Seahawks head to the Lions next on next week's double Monday Night Football. 4.5
game.
4.5 point underdogs.
If they come out of this 4-0, then I'm going to be really fucking crowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it'll be a Seahawks special next Monday, or next Tuesday. One-man show. I won't drag you along.
I think Dolphins also on double Monday Night Football. They've got the Tennessee Titans. What could be a rank game. And they're only 1 point underdogs for that one.
Oh, that is 2 very different games.
2 very different games indeed. Where have we got to next? Colts, Bears we've talked about. Niners, Rams we've talked about. And Jags, Bills is Monday Night Football. Eagles Saints is the next game to talk to. So we had our guest Alex. We've talked about his Tampa Bay Buccaneers who've lost. He was on the Dolphins as an underdog. Eagles Saints, he was on the over. There wasn't a touchdown scored until the 4th quarter in this one. Eagles come away with it 15-12, and this was the 6 o'clock Sky game.
What a weird game.
Yeah, what a bizarre game this was. It was 3-0 Saints up until the start of the 4th quarter.
Yeah, from the first quarter. It was a really weird game. Jalen Hurts had just 1 interception, I think. Did he have a fumble as well, though?
1 interception, and I think he had a fumble as well, yeah.
Yeah, it just... Again, Hurts just not quite going. The hit on Devonta Smith as well, kind of thinking out loud, was fucking horrible. That is a bygone era play. That was really nasty. Really nasty. And really doesn't give the Eagles much of a passing core going forward for next week. Because I think that if he's in the concussion protocol, I presume he misses next week. I hope so for his own health. Dallas Goedert went off.
Career day for Dallas Goedert, 10 for 170, including the huge 61-yard play that set up the go ahead, the second Barkley touchdown.
Yeah.
First one? Second one.
Second one, yeah. The Barkley's first one was that 60-odd yarder, which was wonderful. Yeah. Exactly what you want to see from Saquon Barkley, as much as it hurt being on the Eagles. Didn't enjoy being on the Giants either, truthfully. So, I mean, what's the difference to me? It felt like the Saints got in their own way a lot, though, in this game. You had...
that play being the example where the two Saints players just crash into each other.
Literally. I was talking about offensively, they just didn't seem to get going. But yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely hilarious. And even on that, the Goddard long run as well, Jahan Dotson was kind of like playing the picker there. And essentially, it was a bit like a Tom and Jerry sketch where he kind of like led two safeties into each other and just smashed each other. Seemed to be a running theme. But yeah, obviously you had the Rashid Shaheed bet, which didn't come in, unfortunately. He didn't have a catch in this game. He had two where he was really close to bringing them in, which would have been big plays. I don't understand how you don't... With what we know of the Eagles' defensive line, I don't know how Rashid Shaheed doesn't have an end around or two in this game. Get him going on the ground, get him touches at the line of scrimmage. I found that kind of perplexing. It was a market I was trying to get on, to be fair. Like, Shaheed to have a rushing touchdown. I couldn't find it, annoyingly. So, well, not annoyingly. I saved some money because he didn't get one. But I just felt like if I'm an offensive player call and I have Rashid Shaheed, and again, I think the Eagles are softest on their edges. And once you get into that linebacking, Rashid Shaheed can take it from anywhere to the end zone. It's something I would try and exploit, especially in a game like this where there's no scoring. And through the air, didn't quite get going. Thankfully for me, I had Olave's yards and his touchdown on two separate bets, which came in. And it's kind of funny. I had Olave to lead passing for the day or receiving for the day, which he obviously didn't do. He got 86 yards. But my easiest way to track it is I use a fantasy site that I don't even have a league on anymore called Flea Flicker. And you can just look up like who has the most yards on the day, just like sort it, But if you have running backs on there as well, it kind of screws up. So you have to do it just by wide receivers. And I was like, oh, he's getting kind of close to the top here. And then I forgot Dallas Goedert exists. Who had like 150 yards. Well, he had ended up with 170. And I was like, oh, Olave's 100 yards away. Like, why am I checking this? Because he was getting close to whoever the other leaders in receiving were on the day in the other early games. So I was like, oh, maybe Olave's got a chance if he gets one more big catch. And then, like, it just popped up on the screen, like, Goddard has 100. I'm like, oh, yeah. I didn't have tight ends on my search here. I just had wide receivers because that bet is normally wide receivers. It's not normally tight ends who win that one.
I mean, what price? You wouldn't have seen it, I guess, but what price would you give on Dallas Goedert winning that or that?
I mean, that's 150 to 1 plus. Like, yeah, even your good tight ends are 100 to 1. So, yeah. I mean, it's one of them name your price, I think. I don't even know if he'll have been listed, truthfully.
Yeah. Big win for the Eagles, though, because the Monday Night Football was a disaster, and then this obviously the Saints had the ball last, and they got the interception. Blankenship got the interception to kind of kill it, which obviously they couldn't do on the Monday. They're 2-1 now. Feels like they've got some, this could be a turning point. I think they're off this week. I think they're one of the two teams on a week 4 bye. Is that right?
I don't think there's any week 4 bye.
No, there's no week 4 buys. They've got the Bucks. Eagles have got the Bucks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chance to.
And speaking of which, Alex was our guest. They had 141, I believe you said, attendees for their 40th anniversary.
115, for their 40th
115, sorry.
Yeah.
Who are fuckers, man?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it till you just mentioned it. Like, they got to see Bo Nix's first win. That's great. He's not a Bucks player. They got to see what's probably going to be the Bucks' worst performance of the season, let's face it.
Yes, so. I'm sure it will. But yeah, they had a great time.
I hope they had a good weekend. I've seen some of the stuff on the socials. It looked like they had fun. But what are the odds?
Bucks UK.
Yeah, great bunch.
On 40 years. Saints has already mentioned move on to face the Falcons, and Eagles have got the Bucks, as just discussed. And then, Alex, the one that he did cash, he got the under on Chargers Steelers. I've skipped too far on the screen. Still learning this, Joe. Come back soon. Week 3, on to our ATS picks. I'm terrible. I cannot pick.
There's a lot of blacked out teams here. This wasn't a good week.
It was not. I cannot pick a game for the life of me at the minute. I'm so lucky. I'm not betting on a lot of these as well. And I think, obviously, I'm just not. I don't feel like I've got a good feel on a lot of them. So I'm only the ones that I am betting. I'm a game shy of what am I this week? No, that's college. That was also a disaster. Where am I? I think I am 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, I'm 4-5 going into Monday Night Football. I've got the Jaguars and the under in the Bengals watching game. So I can get to above 500, which I need to. I need a winning week because I've not had one yet. So, I just told a lie. I might have just told a lie. Yeah,
well, no. You're going to decide whether you're telling the truth or not.
5-6-1 in week 1 and 6-7-1 in week 2. So
that's not terrible. You'd want it to be better, obviously, but considering how the season's going, NFL underdogs are 5.5 points or more this year, are 13-2 against the spread, 9 outright wins in that.
Yeah, that's
there's nobody smashing the first part of this season.
Yeah.
So we're doing badly on the ATS here. Joe's leading with 22-20-3. I mean, sorry, I'm kind of spoiler alert in there, but we done a lot better than this in the regular season last year. It has just been a wild first 3 weeks of the season. I don't think we've seen one like it in terms of like I said, 9 5.5 point dogs have won
outright. Yeah.
Outright. That's crazy through 3 weeks. I don't know how survivor pools are doing across the country. I haven't checked in for week 3. I started doing social media work with Fantasy Cares this last couple of weeks, and we had a competition, a survivor pool, which had about 120 entrants, and after week 2, we were down to 21 people still alive.
Yeah.
So and after week 3, that'll have gone as well, because how many people would have picked the Raiders? Tons, I'm sure. Bucks, yeah. How many people would have picked the Bucks? Tons.
Yeah.
In fact, in my work one, we only had 8 people join. We had 3 left going into this week, and I just remembered saying that out loud. My boss picked the Raiders. I was already out after week 2, and I said, "Oh yeah, sorry, but that would have been my pick as well, so that's bad luck." So hopefully she didn't end up picking the Raiders, because if not, she's finished as well.
Oh, so good. Yeah, rough one. There was six games here where we were all on the same. All 3 of us on the same side. We went 2-4 in those 6 games. Yeah. I always get that bad feeling when we're all on the same side of a game. So yeah, rough one. But let's start Monday night. No, not Monday night. Oh, I forgot to do the color coding for Joe's graphic. I've just remembered. Jets. Joe was on the Jets -6.5. 24-3. Real comfortable for the Jets, and my God, did Aaron Rodgers look so much better?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Garrett Wilson got involved as well. Lazard got his touchdown. Felt like it was just a game too many for the Pats, really. Just they looked a lot worse than they had in the other 2 games this season, so maybe too much too young. We got to see Drake May, but nothing actionable.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I think the frisky and fun Patriots might be dead. We'll see the 10.5 point underdogs on the road against the Niners in week 4. Me and Joe were on the Giants. Giants pull off a 21-15 win. I also cast the under on this and build a statue to Devin Singletary. Sat down at the 1 yard line. Obviously, people on the over not happy, but obviously he managed to break one late in the 4th quarter. And smart football play, start at the 1 so the Lions could kneel it out. I think this is Daniel Jones looks okay, and the Giants might be okay, but I think this is a phantom one because the Browns are just so goddamn bad.
Yeah, the Browns were once again appalling, bluntly. And I think it's not a hot take at any. Just get Deshaun Watson out of that team.
Yeah. So sacked 8 times as well. Again, we thought it took a beating against the Cowboys in week 1. It took a beating against the Giants, who don't particularly have a menacing defensive front there.
I mean, the players aren't bad, but they haven't been playing like it. So, yeah, they are not great. But, again, I'm not sure where this one came from. Austin Gale on Twitter. This is since 2001. I'm going to quickly look at my thing here. 21st century of Browns quarterbacks. EPA, so expected points added through 3 games. Since Kevin Stefanski took over, Baker Mayfield in 2020 was 10th. 2021 was Baker Mayfield, he was 5th. Number 9 was Jacoby Brissett, 2022. So, 3 of the top 10 years of Browns 21st century are Kevin Stefanski quarterbacks. Number 21 is Deshaun Watson last year, 2023. Number 22 is Brady Quinn, 2009. Brady Quinn, you remember, not a great quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
23 of 23, Deshaun Watson, 2024. That is below Brandon Whedon, below Derek Anderson, below Kelly Holcomb, below Charlie Fry, Trent Dilfer, Jeff Garcia, bad Baker Mayfield. I mean, to be the worst Browns quarterback of the 21st century is yeah, absolutely. Like, it's hard to comprehend how bad that is.
Yeah.
And Stefanski's scheme isn't the problem. Like I say, you've got 3 of the top 10 seasons in there are Kevin Stefanski scenes with 2 Baker Mayfields and Jacoby Brissett.
Well, we know this team can move the ball because Joe Flacco did it last year. We know they can do it. And they were spotted a touchdown in this one because the Giants fumbled the opening kickoff and the Browns put it straight in. So they were spotted a touchdown and still wasn't enough. But Malik Neighbors is absolutely fucking incredible.
He's so good.
And he's going to have to be that good as well because Daniel Jones, the passes are awful. And Neighbors has had to go, the touchdown one in particular, he's just throwing it so far out of his reach. It's only the crazy athletic ability of Malik Neighbors.
Again, I know I said this in the draft process, but like, he reminds me of OBJ as a rookie. I know the LSU things are there, and obviously the Giants thing, but I said it before he went to the Giants. He just reminds me so much of rookie OBJ, who is, I don't want to be hyperbolic, he's the best rookie wide receiver I've ever seen. Like, again, you look up at the first year stats of any wide receiver, look at the first 3 years, Odell Beckham was going to be a Hall of Famer. Like, he was that good. Malik Neighbors is one of my favorite long shot bets. I've touched on it earlier. 75-1 to lead the NFL in receptions. He's second right now behind Rashee Rice by 1. He is that offense. He is incredible. I don't think it's hyperbolic. Like, how many wide receivers would you take ahead of him now? For this season, I don't mean like long term.
Yeah, I mean it's not been a vintage start, has it, by any means? So yeah, he was unbelievable. Just some of those plays and the play in particular where he went up and grabbed it over the corner, like the Moss style one.
Yeah,
we saw a couple of them this week, but yeah, unbelievable. And 12 targets. You give him 12 targets a game, he's gonna have some solid production. So, and you might have a shot, Byron. Possibly potentially if he goes this rate as well and keeps running. Puka Nakua's receptions record could be in trouble as well.
Yeah.
Rookie receptions record. Giants host Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. I don't know who the Browns have got, but does anybody actually care? Browns have got the Raiders.
I was just going to say, last thing on Malik Neighbors and him getting it done. He has the highest target share in the league of any wide receiver by more than 5%. And this is his first 3 games in the league. It is insane.
Yeah. Unreal. That Fantasy Gameday price is going to keep going up for Malik Neighbors.
Sorry, I just found this while I was looking at something else on Twitter. It's just another Malik Neighbors one, whilst I'm wanking over how good Malik Neighbors is. In their first 3 NFL games, LSU receivers, Justin Jefferson, 12 catches, 245 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good. Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 220 yards, 4 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, 23 catches, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a freak. He is unbelievable. And I'm so annoyed I don't have more of him on my dynasty rosters, but there is no price to get him at now. If someone is selling him, there isn't an overpay that you pay for him, I don't think.
Yeah, fair. Let's see if we can carry it on against the Cowboys on Thursday. Hopefully not. Texans fell to the Vikings 34-7. We were all on the Texans. Sam Darnold, fantastic again. The Vikings, in all 3 phases, fantastic again.
Yeah, really, really impressive. And again, I was really low on Sam Darnold coming into the year. I had the Vikings as the worst record in football. I was very confident they're under 6.5. All of this looks incredibly stupid, but I'll shout out my good bets. I'll shout out things I'm confident about that are going well. So it's only right that I point out things that are going badly. Aaron Jones looked incredible, passing and running. I don't know what the Texans were. They just did not get going. Period.
They looked okay offensively in week 1, and then I don't kind of know what's happened because they struggled through against the Bears.
Yep.
And then they kind of the mistakes that CJ Stroud's been making, he was punished for.
Yeah. This
time, and the Vikings got the turnovers, and I know this Vikings defense. Brian Flores, there's almost an element of kind of. He doesn't know what he's going to do until he does it. So how the fucking hell do you prepare? How the fucking hell do you prepare for it?
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's a good shout. hopefully, though, you'd prepare better than this. They just look kind of lost, the Texans. I was really surprised by how unprepared they seemed. That defense, again, you say like all three phases, you're absolutely right. Vikings just outplayed them in all three. And, I'm saying about Mike McDonald being coach of the year. Kevin O'Connell should be the front runner today. I don't know if he is. I presume he is.
Yeah, just outstanding start. And look, going to be in the mix for at the very least a wild card spot, aren't they? I know it's very early in the season, but why not?
Absolutely.
At this point,
and thankfully, Sam Darnold got banged up, but he's fine. You do worry when you see a quarterback in the best vein form he's ever had go down. You're like, oh, is this just going to be, the cruelty of football? But no, all reports are that he's absolutely fine. No problems going into next week. So.
Did get worried when I saw Nick Mullins coming for a play for them. Kevin O'Connell's currently the favourite for Coach of the Year at plus 320, so just over 3-1. Yeah. Just skip past a couple of games there. We were all on the Packers. We've talked about that game. Joe was on the Colts. You and Joe were on the Eagles, plus 2.5. We were all on the Chargers, all on the Buccaneers. Joe was on the Panthers, plus 5.5, while we were on the Raiders. You and Joe on the Seahawks. I really just need to start back in the Seahawks. I was just doing out of stubbornness at this point. We were all on the Niners, all on the Lions, and then all on the Chiefs. One last game for us to actually talk about. I'll not quite save the best till last, but Ravens-Cowboys. Ravens won 28-25. That doesn't really tell the story of the game. No. The Ravens should have won this by 3 or 4 scores, really. Just kind of switched off in the fourth quarter again and let Dallas come back into it a little bit. But phenomenal on the ground from the Ravens. Terrible defending the run again from the Cowboys. 45 carries for 274 yards on the ground for the Ravens. Derrick Henry had a monster game. 25 touches, 151 yards for 2 touchdowns. And, Dallas gave up 158 yards on broken tackles.
They're a fundamentally poor defense. It sucks, but it is what it is. We were both low on the Cowboys going into the season. I don't know if you ended up having them in the playoffs or not. I didn't. There's not. Obviously, them rushing stats are very. Again, it's bully ball. They came in and just took the Cowboys' lunch money and ran all over them. Lamar Jackson had 12 pass completions yesterday, 15 attempts. Mark Andrews did nothing. Bateman had a touchdown. Zay Flowers had 4 targets, 3 catches. It just no need to have a passing game when you play the Dallas Cowboys. You can just run on them and take the piss out of them because that defense. I expected a little more of Mike Zimmer to make them a bit more stout. And you look at some of the packages they're running on defense, and you've got Derrick Henry, you've got a fullback, you've got Lamar Jackson. And they're going a loose 3-4 to try and I don't really know what the plan is, but by the time anyone's making contact with Derrick Henry, he's already a running start and he's already past the first line. And your linebackers, again, we talked about this in the offseason. This is not any kind of news to us, but they were weak already. And then what did they do in the offseason? They added Eric Kendricks, who wasn't a marquee free agent signing. They didn't give up anything to get him. It wasn't a competition to get him in the building. And I don't want to make out like he's the problem. He's just not a solution. That
line's so weak. Matty Smith just gets thrown about for fun.
Yeah, I don't want to say bust because I feel that's more first round players he should be like, but he's not an NFL player.
He's not a middle of the defensive line run stopper, which is what he was brought in to do. He's just not big enough.
No, just factually, he just can't do it. And it's all well and good having your ball hawking DBs, but when the opposition only needs to throw the ball a dozen times, it doesn't really much matter, does it?
Kalen Carson struggling. The Saints picked on him last week, and then the couple of bad moments. The Aguilar play for 50+ yards that got kind of them to the goal line, and he joined I got palmed off by Derrick Henry club. Stiff Henry,
so I don't really have anything positive to take away for Dallas. Ravens good, they got back to winning ways. Lamar Jackson, I think, was a bit candid at the end of the game. Again, I don't know if you've seen these quotes of we need to stop letting teams come back so late in the game. We need to be more aggressive, put our foot down. And I couldn't agree more. If Dallas had snuck this game out, I think you might have riots in Baltimore. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but like you'd be a very unhappy fan base in Baltimore, and rightly so. But even just to get within 3 points and for it to be up for grabs is wild. Like you say, considering how that game went, Dallas weren't in this game. Like, for 99% of it, it was a couple of, I don't say gimme touchdowns either because they weren't giving them. They went down the field and got them. But it just felt like Baltimore got to a certain point and we're like, okay, we can just ease the game out now. And that isn't how the NFL works.
No.
So I do find that a little worrying for Baltimore because that doesn't feel... I expect better of John Harbaugh, I guess, ultimately. And I think maybe Lamar Jackson saying something publicly might be a bit of a, awakening for them to be more aggressive going forward. I certainly hope so because they're incredible to watch when they are aggressive and being at the best and being push arounds. As much as it hurts when it's Dallas, it's still incredible to watch that kind of football being played. And, when we talk about all the passing stuff being low this year, well, some teams are better suited to, zig when everyone's been zagging and getting, light boxes and light players and do everything with speed. Well, we'll bring in Derrick Henry and we'll just play push around. So,
yeah, finally the kind of game I was expecting to see out of Derrick Henry for the Ravens. But Cowboys in multiple, they got that 2-point conversion. They could have taken this to overtime or snuck it and didn't deserve it at all. One thing for sure for Dallas Cowboys, though, Brandon Aubrey is money. 65-yard field goal tied out to second longest in NFL history. Justin Tucker missed again from less than 50. And also onside kick recovery, which was nice for...
Wild, yeah, really good to see. I mean, especially because it was Dallas, but just just don't kill the onside kick.
Yeah, kind of instead, but yeah.
Yeah, we need some kind of mechanism. I mean, I like the, give a team 4th and 20 rather than doing an onside kick. You've got to give teams a chance to come back, and the onside kick is as dead as it is likely to be, especially because you can't do it by surprise anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is going to be a rarity that we see one converted, so it was really good to see. And this is, again, one of the season-long bets that I didn't have on our sheet because it was kind of a low price, but DraftKings had a market I never understood, and I should have maybe mentioned it in passing at some point at the very least, but the longest kick in the seasons we made was completed yesterday. They had it as over 63.5 yards. It was well, that's obviously going to hit. It was minus 110. It wasn't a big win.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't understand why that was the line. I think the NFL kicking record probably gets broken this year with how
it's going to be
especially how Brandon Aubrey is kicking. Yeah. There's a couple of us who could do it certainly, but if I had to bet money, it'd be Aubrey. He's incredible. He's fearless, and he should have done it in week 1.
Yeah, he's going to get shot because the Cowboys are so bad. So he's going to get.
He might have a 100-yard kick attempt the way this season's going.
Yeah.
So that one cashed yesterday because I don't know why they had the line at 63.5. It felt crazy to me. Annoyingly, it was only 110 though. So
the last bit was CeeDee Lamb does not look interested, and
no, he doesn't know.
That's worrying. But let's move on. So that is our ATS Picks competition. Joe leading the way with strong week. He's gone 10-4 so far with Monday Night Football to go. I was 4-10 on the other end of Byron in the middle at 6-8. Fantasy Gameday, Sunday Stars. We were terrible. We finished 144th out of 202. But this is our winners lineup. So congratulations, Silver 7-9-1-4 won just over £100. I want to say it was £106. I've just got my phone here. I think that was right. For the leaderboard, £101. Yeah, there were 3 winners of 101, but this was the person who won it overall. And it's in that back end, really. Jennings, 46.5 points. Shabby, 25.7. And Dallas got it at 27. I think that's where it was won.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, good for them because, again, those are Charbonnet a bit chalky maybe, but Goddard and Jennings, I wanted us to go with Jordan Whittington. I thought he'd play the cup role, and he didn't have a terrible game, but he certainly didn't have a good one. I didn't hugely consider Jennings, I must say. I thought the Niners had been much more ball control and keep the ball on the ground. What did Whittington do? 3 for 28. Yeah, not terrible. Not great. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going Jonathan Taylor as well in this matchup. I think the Bears defense has been pretty good, to be fair. I think that is a really bold captain call, but that's why you win the money when you go bold and you go big and you get it right. Yeah, good solid lineup there. I think we had Minshew as well, right? I don't think we had any other crossover here. So
no, we only had Minshew. Yeah, we were terrible. We had 98.46.
We expected, we expected big things from the Raiders with how the Panthers' defense has looked. It isn't just the Panthers' offense that's been bad, to be fair. We thought the defense would be bad as well, but even the defense apparently got an upswing from Andy Dalton playing.
And then we went heavy Lions-Cardinals game, didn't we? And just didn't get the shootout we were hoping for.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row with the Lions where, it's been 50-point-ish and it's been in the 30s. So something to think about for next week, certainly.
Yeah.
Although they won't be on Fantasy Gameday.
Yeah. Make sure you join Fantasy Gameday. Sign up using promo code COVER. You'll get a free entry after you've submitted your first lineup. It's £7.50. You've just heard winners won £100 last week. 200 plus people in it, so prize pot's big enough. They gave away and finally reached giving away 20 grand over a couple of weeks ago. So plenty of money to be given out. So show some love for the UK's fastest growing and best daily fantasy NFL game, Fantasy Gameday. Go download it and use promo code COVER. Last bit of business for us. Quick look ahead to Thursday night football, and as our team's playing in it, we probably should just have a quick chat about it. It's Cowboys, Giants at MetLife. Thursday night football 2 weeks in a row at MetLife. Cowboys 4.5 point favourites, over-unders 44. I'm not confident, but I think Cowboys 4.5. I think this is potentially one of the.
It's about the line.
A get right game, and this could be Cowboys own the Giants, don't they? So
I was going to say they do always do well against the Giants. Yeah. I think 4.5 is probably fair. I would take the Cowboys in that as well. I don't think the Giants can push them around like Baltimore did. So, I think 4.5. I would take the Cowboys as well. Under 44, I'd probably take the under there as well. Oh, would I? I think that's a tougher one. I'm much more confident picking the Cowboys over to beat the spread. Because I can't figure out how to say that. I think, obviously we're talking about CD Lamb not looking too fussed. But I think this could be a big game for him just because that Giants defensive backfield is not great. Ferguson, I expect to get going as well. See what we get in the running back rotation as well. I think Dowdle led the room this week. I snuck one of my bets this week. I had him over 7.5 rushes and he got 8, which it's not quite how I expected to win it. I thought he'd get more than 8 as well. It's not the kind of bet you make expecting to get it by half. But a win's a win, so it's not a fuss for the way this season's gone. I think Cowboys should certainly have enough, and you just hope that they're in the mood to get right after yesterday, and maybe catch the Giants on a high and knock them back down.
Yeah, absolutely. Thursday night football from MetLife Stadium. That's it for us. That's our week 3 preview in the books. We'll be back later on in the week, Friday, with our week 4 preview. Hoping we might get. No, we won't. I was going to say we might get Joe, but no, I'm going out on the piss with him on Thursday. So yeah, no, we're not going to.
Get your fourth one after you've had a few drinks. That could be fun. That'll be a 4-hour show.
Terrible. Yeah, that's a bad idea. So we're recording early this week, but it will be out on Friday. It might be out Thursday if I just click the wrong button. So, make sure you catch the preview episode. And we'll be back. Best of luck. Enjoy Monday Night Football if you've watched it or watching it. I'll see this before Monday Night Football, which I highly doubt it. But we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us and follow along on all the socials.
Cheers.